WRHU.
Radio Hofstra University.
For 88.7 FM WRHU, I'm Max Sacco as we continue our Alum of the Week series, joined this week by Winter 13 graduate Taimon Turner. Thank you for joining us today, Taimon.
Thank you, Max. Thanks for having me.
So first question, just so we can get a little bit to know about you, what did you do at RHU, and then what have you done in your professional career as well?
Ooh, man, what I did at RHU, I was mostly involved with the sports department, and I did a lot for the wake-up call. It was so much fun at RHU having getting to start off in sports department doing work with the Islanders. That was really cool. When I was at Hofstra, it was still sort of new. So it was still, I won't say a work in progress. We had an idea on how everything worked, but it was a really exciting moment to work with a professional sports team. That is cool in and of itself, and it was a great resume builder. And for the wake-up call, I did a lot. I mean, we had so many things that happened that I was happy to be a part of with RHU. I remember, I think it was 2013, maybe 2012, the Islanders made the playoffs. So there was a lot of excitement going on. And I remember we featured Kevin Dexter and Chris King, who were Kevin was the sports director at the time. Obviously, Chris was still doing his thing. We got to interview him a lot on the wake-up call, promoting the Islanders. We're happy that they made the playoffs and whatnot. For also the wake-up call, we covered some pretty horrific stories at the time. Hurricane Sandy, the Sandy Hook school shooting. I remember Rich DeCourt and we went down to the World Trade Center to get some interviews for the 9/11 anniversary. So that was an interesting moment in and of itself, a very surreal scenario. Obviously, when Rich and I did Sandy Hook, that was a very real too, but knowing everything behind it. But as much as I loved everything with the wake-up call, all my fun and memorable moments, and I should say, really happened with the sports department because we just had a lot of fun as being college students while we were there.
And now, also, what have you done in your professional career too? So what's that look like now, post-college grad?
Sure. Post-college has been very interesting. And very interesting for me in particular because I grew up on the East Coast. I lived most of my life in Connecticut. My sister still lives there, so I have a lot of family there. I have a lot of family and friends in New York. I was born in Dallas, and I quickly became a Dallas sports fan in my life. And so when I lived all my life years on the East Coast, I was still a diehard Dallas sports fan. Everybody at Hofstra knew that. So I knew that my end game, though, was to work in an industry where I could really work or be a part of my sports teams. And so I started my career after Hofstra at SiriusXM, where I worked there as a board op and a content producer. And that was a very interesting moment for me. It gave me a lot of experience. Really, RHU gave me a lot of experience too, but to translate it right into XM right out of college, it was a perfect fit for me. And then I worked at the Salem Media Group, which was a conservative radio group, and it was a news and political outlet, and I did a lot of work for them. But my end game is where I work right now, and that's at Fox Sports Southwest, which is where I really wanted to do. I'm the program coordinator for Fox Sports Southwest. We cover 6 teams. We cover the Mavericks, Spurs, Stars, Pelicans, Thunder, and I'm drawing a blank on the 6 teams. But it's been a lot of fun. I'm credentialed to go to all 6 games. We work with all our different programming for those teams. And one thing I loved about how RHU really helped me in my professional career, as you know, Max, at RHU, there's so many different opportunities. And I think that when you're young, because I think most people, especially in the sports department, who most people in the sports department, they were sports fans from pretty much the time they could walk. And there's this little notion that like, oh, I'm going to be the next great play-by-play caller, the next great color analyst. And if that's your goal, you should pursue it for sure. But what I learned at RHU, which translated into my professional career, is that there's so many different things about this industry that I didn't know about. And I was able to take advantage of. And then when I pursued it into my professional career, it's helped me a long way because it's like if there's one thing that I would recommend for any and everybody is look at every opportunity. You might not know something, and then you find out something, and in your professional career, you find out it's perfect for you. So that's really what's translated to my life, and I love the job I have right now.
Taimon, you beat me to my next question right away because I was about to say, sports does have a lot of options. And, you have a fun career in Dallas too, because I remember you talked about it with our alumni series. You could speak to the alumni. You beat me right to the next question. What would you say are the best 2-3 pieces of advice that RHU taught you to get you ready for your professional career? I already know you touched on one, but maybe another piece or two that RHU taught you.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, like I said, besides opportunities and whatnot, take advantage of networking. Networking is really a huge thing, because if there's one thing I've learned about this industry is that everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows somebody who can, really, really help you. And I've met a lot of people along the way, whether it's in New York, Connecticut, Dallas, and I wouldn't have the job I have right now without networking. Before I started working, well, actually, I think pretty much every job that I had has been through networking. Right out of college, when I was working at SiriusXM, I was an intern at XM while I was at RHU, and I spent my the winter of 2013 interning there. And it was great because when I got hired at XM, it was kind of like I just had a 2-week vacation. I was just like, oh, college is over. Now I'm going to go to work in 2 weeks. So that was all through networking. And here's the thing about networking also is that I know, like, when you're in college, you're very anxious. You want your first job. You want to take every step in this industry, and you reach out to people, and they want to help you. One thing I've learned about now that I'm one of those people that people reach out to me, that we are busy a lot, and sometimes we may not always respond to texts or emails, right away or in a preferable time frame, but we don't forget also. It's just like, we're humans and we live our lives, and, we get busy and whatnot. But one thing I noticed is that, especially with RHU alumni, Hofstra alumni, we're going to take care of our own, and before we take care of anybody else. And that's the one thing about me. It's like, again, when I got hired at XM takes on, well, I'm sure they still do. They took on Hofstra interns all the time. So even there were people I'd reach out to, maybe not hear back from. And then, 2-3 weeks later, I hear, oh yeah, this guy talked with John Mullen about me, or this guy talked to, Bruce about me or something. And, rest in peace, Ed Ingles talked about Ed or knew Ed. So it's kind of one of those things where, networking is a huge thing. Take advantage of it. Reach out to as many people as you can, and find a person, like, once you network, find that person who you're comfortable with, because even though they may not be able to get you that right job, they can teach you a whole lot of different things, and that's a big thing. Another thing I would use is utilize social media to the best degree. Update your LinkedIn pages, update your Twitter all the time. Make sure you know what's going on in the sports world. If you want to work in the news world, know what's going on, and make sure that you utilize it. Yeah, you can be yourself, but be professional. I mean, you're starting off your career. You don't want to write or say anything that somebody could look back on and be like, I like him, he's a good guy, but he writes a lot of ridiculous things on Twitter. And you don't, a company or somebody you're networking with might look at that and be like, he has all the potential in the world, but just not right now. We have to see where he really wants to go. It appears to me he doesn't know where he wants to go. So, networking, definitely networking, and making sure you take advantage of every opportunity, even the opportunities you don't like. I look back at RHU a little bit, and there were some opportunities that I was given that at the time I'm like, I don't know if I really want to do this. But, I look back on it, it's like, you got to take advantage of it, because once you start working in your professional career, there's going to be some stuff you probably don't want to do. And I know the difference is your motivation is, oh, well, you're getting paid. I get that can be motivation. But if you're talking about trying to bring yourself up, and, you got to look long term, where you're going to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, the money might still be the same, but your hierarchy might be a little higher, or your opportunity to grow might be a little bit higher. So, those are the two biggest things that I would definitely give advice to anyone who's trying to make it in this world.
That's definitely some good advice. I'll give you that one. You definitely been giving me that's some brand new advice I haven't heard yet, really, from any of the other alumni we've talked to. So I thank you for that one. And now I think just another interesting get to know you question here is just, why Hofstra, and then why also make that jump to RHU as well? Because a lot of people will join Hofstra, the communication school, and just not make that jump to radio?
Man, when I was in high school, well, again, it really goes back to when I was a kid. I knew right away from my love and passion of sports that I wanted to work in the media industry. So I was like, okay, I want to find a college that is going to be able to utilize what I want to do. And when I was in high school, I knew for certain that I wanted to work in journalism or work in the media industry. As I started looking at schools, and being the sports and news nerd that I am, I remember in '08, I watched the Hofstra debate, and it was Obama and McCain, and I was like, they were like at Hofstra University. I was like, oh, I've never heard of this school. Let me take a look at it. And I go on its website or whatever, and do a little research. And I had a tour, and I remember when I went down to Long Island, and I went and I toured RHU, or the communication school. Now it's the Herbert School. At the time, it was called Dempster. I went there and I toured it, and I was absolutely very impressed. I was like, this is where I want to go. So once I got into Hofstra, I knew RHU was like my number one thing. I was like, I got to get in there. I remember, getting interviewed. I remember going through the training class. I remember taking the test, studying. I was thinking to myself as I was studying, I'm like, oh my God, I got to get in here. This is my big thing. And, when I got in, I was super stoked, super excited. And then the opportunities at RHU, you knew were going to be big. You really kind of going in. I was thinking, the thing that impressed me the most, really, looking back on it to when I actually got in RHU, was the debate. Because in '08, when they had it, there was a lot of speculation, again, that they were going to have it in 2012. And I really wanted to be a part of that. And when they had the debate in 2012, I mean, literally, whether you were Wake Up Call, whether you were sports department, whether news, you're working the debate. And it was such a cool and interesting opportunity. And to me, that was the biggest opportunity of it all, because you had a situation where literally the sitting president of the United States is going to be on your campus. So the entire media world is going to be at your school. And we had to take opportunity of it. And it was like, this is kind of living the dream. I'm like, I'm 20 years old and I'm covering a debate. I'm 20 years old and we're covering a professional sports team in the New York Islanders. I'm getting internships and I'm getting to kind of do my own thing. And, for the sports department in particular, I saw a bunch of guys who, despite every difference that we may have, we are all passionate sports fans. And when you're around passionate sports fans, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think of times where, like, whether it was the preview shows, and we were there from 11 in the morning to 2 or 3 o'clock at night, and then we go to Blue Colony Diner or something. It's just like, it was extremely fun. And you have that. It creates an opportunity where you're friends with those guys for life. Yeah, you grow up, you start your own professional career, you start your own families and whatnot. But it's kind of like, I'll still talk to RHU guys whenever we go back up to New York. We'll go grab a beer, go grab a drink, whatever, and just see where we are. It's fun. It's great.
Yeah, everyone always talks about the preview shows with at least your little chunky years, but Taimon, I think the big final question here that we're all kind of interested in is that you've obviously seen a lot in your professional career. You've done a lot at RHU, and you spoke a lot about the best advice you could give. What would you say, though, is the number one overall thing RHU prepared you for when you made that jump to your professional career?
Professionalism. Literally right from the get-go. Again, all you got to do is tour the RHU studios, and you know that this place is already legit. But more importantly, I love Hofstra. Hofstra was great. I learned a lot. But for my professional career, it's simply RHU. If Hofstra, from an educational standpoint, yes, it's a great school. I loved it. I learned a lot in my classes. But right when you're at RHU, right from the get-go, you're working in a professional media environment. And whether I've been at XM, whether I was at Salem, whether here at Fox, it's that type of atmosphere exists in the professional world. So it's literally an opportunity for that's what you're doing in college. And sure, as you get a little older, you're a little bit more, you're more of a seasoned vet, but it's kind of like while you're at RHU, that professionalism, those professional opportunities are real. Now, for somebody who might be maybe on the fence of joining or whatnot, I would tell them that this is the real world. What you're about to enter into at RHU is real. Yeah, I get it. You may not be getting paid, or you may not be, getting every single opportunity that you particularly want at that time. But you have to look at the big game here, the end game. If you're entering RHU, look at it as, an athlete who's playing basketball their freshman year in college. They may not get everything they want, but as time goes on, they start to realize that this is their opportunity, and as long as you utilize it and take advantage of it, and that's the biggest thing. If you don't utilize, if you don't take advantage of your opportunities at RHU, sure, you're going to be on the fence about it. It may not be for you, but if you utilize it and say, hey, this is the plan. I got 4 years here, or whenever you come in, 3 years, 2 years, you transfer, whatever. This is where you're at, but this is where you want to be. And where you want to be is, number one, you want to get a job right after college. Number two, you want to be in a better position to, succeed yourself 5 years after college, because you're not going to be at the highest thing up your first year, but 5 years from then you could be at a better position. So you have to just set realistic roadmap for yourself and go from there. And again, I understand it's not always easy, and I understand a lot of things get in the way at a time, and particularly right now, I feel for RHU students because they're in a pandemic. Nobody can really predict when everything's going to at least get somewhat back to normal. But I would tell them not to be discouraged. I know, as somebody who's a professional working in this industry, we're going to hire again. We're going to get back to normal. It's just going to take a little bit of time. And I know that might be a little discouraging for somebody who's, trying to get in this business, maybe a senior or whatnot, or junior, entry senior year. But, don't leave this industry. It's fun. The opportunities you met that you're going to get are amazing. I think about the opportunities I have, and this is where I say think long term, I should say. In my time covering the Mavericks, I've met a lot of athletes. I met LeBron, Kawhi, the late, great, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. It's like, those are the things you have to look at long term, because that's what's the fun about this business. Yeah, sometimes you might have to put a lot of grit. There were times where I slept at RHU. There were times where, it's literally your life. But again, it's temporary. Once you get in the professional world, you'll get 9 to 5s. You'll get days off. You'll still be busy, but long-term gain is the biggest thing at RHU.
I think that's just a perfect piece to end on. Once again, everyone, our alum of the week, Taimon Turner. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you much, Max. Really appreciate it. Roll Pride.